fabulous strength fans and superstars, especially the superstars, because actually I am here with my dear friend Andy from WiseAss Astrology, and actually hanging out with the superstars right now as part of superstar membership at Nadiya ShahSuperstars.com. We have a monthly party online, and this time I invited Andy. And I thought that Andy could talk about this incredible aspect we have coming up in 2024, which is the Jupiter square Saturn here at Synchronicity Web TV. And Andy, of course, is coming to Synchronicity University. You've got just a day or two left to choose your tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class, an unheard of rate to learn from Andy and these incredible astrologers. And you're about to learn why I think Andy is one of my most favorite astrologers, and why I think he is one of the most brilliant astrologers on the planet. And I've met a lot of astrologers, and he's also my very dear friend of WiseAss Astrology. Thank you for being here. Welcome. Okay. What do you think? Shannon has Pluto entering her 8th house. She's freaking out. I have freaked out. I've had my moments.
Did she put her chart up? Pluto's overrated.
She didn't put her chart up, no. But
so where's Pluto?
Just as a general. Yeah, because the thing is, if we
where's Pluto's at 29, so it's going to go into Aquarius.
Yes.
Well, anything transiting your 8th house is other people's things. So as you get into Aquarius season, and you're going to have to be resourceful in organizing things, but you're going to have to accept that you're part of the greater collective. So I don't use Pluto because I think it's just the bastardized version of Scorpio. They just ripped it off because Scorpio is cells, and they just said, "Oh, well, let's attribute Pluto to Scorpio." There's no, but that's a rant for another time. So we're going to have to accept that we're part of the greater collective, and that's what it's all about. That's what anything in Aquarius is going to be all about with Saturn and Pisces. Now you're just going to have to be calm with that, with Jupiter's in Taurus. Now, when Jupiter goes into Gemini, that's going to be interesting. Because yes, Jupiter will be in early Gemini and it's going to trine anything in early Aquarius, but it will, I don't know, is it going to square Saturn at some point, or is it going to get close to it?
Yes, it is going to square Saturn in August, but first it is going to trine Pluto. So it's that trine to Pluto.
But that's not the point. It's anything in Aquarius is going to be ruled by Saturn.
Yes.
So you're going to have to get the Jupiter-Saturn square. So anybody with planets in early immutable signs, that's going to be something that they're going to have to learn how to work through, because everyone's going to be, it goes in like the summertime, right? Jupiter goes into Gemini, and then it's going to go back into Taurus at a certain point.
No, Jupiter won't go back into Taurus. No, it's going to go all the way in station at like 21. Of Gemini.
So when Jupiter squares Saturn, that's going to be a big deal, because we're going to want to accept responsibility, but we're going to have to accept responsibility from a lot of different places, because it's going to square it and it's going to rule it, because Saturn is going to be in Jupiter's sign and it's going to receive a square. So that's going to be a big deal. So right now, anything in Capricorn and anything in Aquarius, it's about accepting responsibility and accepting we have to work. And then when things are in Aquarius, it's accepting that we're part of the greater collective, and that we're accepting that we're part of something bigger. Capricorn, people can get depressed in Capricorn season, but the important part is we accept that there is something to work for, that there is a purpose. And if we allow ourselves to accept that, then it's okay. And if we allow ourselves to accept that we're part of something greater, instead of having, bouts of depression for ego crises and things like that, then it's okay. But first, we have to accept the challenge before we actually take on the challenge. First, we actually have to accept we're part of something greater before we actually are able to tap into our consciousness and be aware of that. And we can do that now because, look, Jupiter is in Taurus. It's sextile Saturn in Pisces, so that's like we can take the time to do that. But coming along next summer, it's going to be it's going to be a bit distracting in
Mm.
trying to accept. We're not going to know where we're going to try. Not going to know where to accept those kinds of things. We're going to have to try to accept those things from many different places. So that's why it's really important when we have this Jupiter Saturn sextile. I guess they're relatively sextile now, right? And it's in
Yes, they're
again,
floating in
Saturn's in
such stuff.
Jupiter sign. It's really important that we, when Jupiter goes direct at the end of the year, that, that we really establish our firm sense of grounding, and we really take our time to accept to work through things, because we're going to be all over the place, um,
Mm.
all over the place next summer. So, or this, yeah, the summer coming up. So that's why the work in this New Year for this New Year's resolution is really important. And sometimes people are in denial during New Year's because everybody has these New Year's resolutions in Capricorn season. Uh,
Mm.
and they say, "Oh, well, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'll work through it. I'll work through it." Or they won't work through it. But sometimes that's an issue because people's egos get real big, and they won't accept they have problems. And it's very important to accept they have problems. Anybody that's ever gone through a tough thing in their life knows that the first thing they have to do is accept that they do have problems and they do have things to work through. And
Mm.
if you don't accept that first, then there's going to be issues. We can take time to do that now, but it's gonna be difficult next summer. So that's what I would pay attention to for anything in Capricorn or Aquarius. Um, is the Jupiter sextile Saturn now, and it's going to be separating more when it goes direct. But then the Jupiter Saturn square, in the summertime, and that's huge for anything in any planets in for any transits to Sagittarius, any transits to Capricorn, any transits to Aquarius, any transits to Pisces. So
That's interesting to think that wherever you have Capricorn or Aquarius in your chart, considering that square of Jupiter to Saturn is actually in some way going to speak to that house for you, is what you're saying.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
when that happens, so it's important that we take our time and allow ourselves to be thorough and get it right now, because if we're too lazy, and Jupiter and Taurus can be very lazy, can be very
Mm.
lazy moving forward. And if we're lazy now, then we're going to be forced to work on it, and it's going to tear us in so many different directions, and trying to build ourselves up. So stabilize yourself, stabilize your equilibrium now, because if you don't, you're going to try to work through things on a tilt-a-whirl pretty much when it comes to next summer. You're
Oh
going to
dear. I'll tell you, Capricorn and Aquarius is my seventh, eighth, and ninth. Those are big energies, like big areas, right? Really important areas. So that square is, I'm not going to freak out. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think there's not gonna be much in Aquarius during the square other than the moon, right? So it's just gonna be when the moon goes through Aquarius, when the moon goes through Capricorn. I think luckily that's not gonna be, I mean, like you're talking about Pluto, it's something that I won't put too much stock into, but if I did, that's what I would pay attention to, the Jupiter Saturn square, when that happens. Um And Jupiter is not it's not Gemini is not Jupiter's home sign, right? For a reason, because
Mm.
Jupiter needs to grow and expand, and it needs time to go on that journey and get that big picture. And people who have Jupiter and Gemini, it's the big picture is like a collage. They only have time to get a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit there. And people who have squares in their chart with Pisces and Gemini, it's difficult. People have that natally because they want to absorb so much, um, and they want to be so sensitive, but they don't really have the time to absorb everything that they need. So they got to do it kind of piecemeal, which is okay. I mean, you Gemini is an adaptable sign. You learn to adapt with that, but until you learn to adapt to that Gemini whirlwind, it could take you for a ride if you don't lock into the groove. So,
Mm. And so you see that as a big moment, the Jupiter square Saturn
oh,
in 20.
that's
That's,
huge. I
yeah,
mean, that's huge. I mean, um, because well, especially when the moon, the people who have planets in those four signs: Sagittarius, Capricorn,
mm,
uh, Aquarius, Pisces, and when the moon goes over that, I mean, that's big. Because anybody that's sun is there, usually their Mercury and Venus will also be in one of those four signs. Um, so just pay attention to where that. I don't. Can you check where the axis is going to be when the Jupiter squares Saturn? Or,
let's have a look. So it would be Jupiter square Saturn. Okay, let's get it going here. And that is August 20, approximately. So let's bring that up. This
so
is
in the
the,
meantime, you're in Canada, right? You're still in Canada.
I am for about
You're,
a
you're
little
visiting
bit
your
longer.
mom and dad, and Nadia's
Yes,
mom and dad are very lovely people. So um, Nadia's dad thinks that she is the greatest astrologer in the world.
yes,
It
he
was
really
a
does.
shock to me because I thought I was the greatest astrologer in the world, right?
He
I really
literally
did, and it turns
introduces
out
me that way.
Nadia's dad says so. I guess
Uh,
now, on the other hand, Nadia's mom, it's a tie. Nadia's mom thinks Nadia's a really good astrologer, but she thinks this man named David Hauser is also an excellent
she
astrologer.
does love David Hauser very much.
David
So
Hauser just
David
gets at a
is
birthday.
an astrologer. He's on Facebook, and he and my mom have had a long-standing, very subtle flirtation, and
Yeah.
it's more than enough for her. But yeah, it's a subtle, friendly flirtation. And so, yes, she thinks very highly of David Hauser. You can find him on Facebook, that's for sure.
He had a birthday. He's late, such as like 10 days ago or something like that. He recently
I
had a
don't
birthday.
know. I mean, I know that you are really good with remembering people's charts, right?
He's a late Sagittarius.
So let
Um,
me just address some questions here. Well, thank you, Tara. Don't worry, Tara. If I can't get to, we'll have Andy here for a little while. If I cannot get to any questions, like there's 3 charts posted in the Superstar group, I'll get to them either later or I'll leave a voice note within Facebook to make sure that I get to you guys. Okay,
so
so let's
look,
see here. Yeah, Shannon, the here we have the date, August 20th is when we get that square. Mars is going to be activating an activating principle, I guess you could say. It should be interesting,
I guess
bringing more adrenaline. Yeah.
the moon's also going to be in Pisces going on. So,
Yeah, yeah. But it's gonna be
um,
like with Mars in the mix, it's like you have to do this, isn't it? It's gonna feel like impulsive and adrenaline driven, and a moment might have us reacting very quickly. And we have to look at bringing these energies together, right?
yeah, Mercury,
Yeah,
there's going to be still Leo energy in the summertime.
it
So,
is. Yeah. And Mercury is retrograde. Yeah. That retrograde dips sort of in and out of Virgo a little bit too. But the retrograde is August, and this is close to the station that's happening. I think it's August 5th to 28th or 25, and I can find
is the
that date.
retrograde going to be a lot during Leo season? Because look, I
Yeah.
mean, the sun's going to be the dispositor for just about everything in that chart. I
Mm,
don't know when Mercury exactly goes retrograde, but the sun's ruling Mercury, and Mercury's going to be ruling the Gemini stuff. It's going to be ruling the Venus in Virgo. Um, and Venus is going to be opposed. You have like that T square going on. Venus in Virgo opposing
mm.
Saturn, and Venus squaring Mars. Um,
Ooh, big moment.
but the thing is, the sun's going to be the driver of everything in Leo with that,
Mm,
mm, because sun's going to be ruling Mercury, and Mercury is going to be ruling the Gemini and Virgo stuff. uh, not only that, it's the biggest. I look at this chart. The biggest thing I see is the Sun Uranus square. That's the biggest thing because, like I said, the Sun's driving everything in this chart. As all these other hard aspects, there are hard aspects. Sure, there are hard aspects, and there's all we talk about the interplay between Gemini and Pisces, and we talk about Mercury is really turning this whole chart with its rulership of Venus and Virgo and its rulership of Mars and Jupiter and Gemini. But um, the Sun is the final dispositor for everything in this chart, and the Sun is going to be squaring Uranus. It's separating. I don't know when exactly does Mercury goes direct a few days. I mean, Mercury goes retrograde a few days before that, or what is that the first?
Mercury goes retro. I'll give you those dates right now because I had them kind of at the ready. But
That's that.
where is
That's
it? Mercury
so.
goes.
Well, just like flip
Oh,
it a few days before that. I guess you know, just go back a couple of days. So let's see.
okay, Mercury retrograde, August 5th to the 28th. Goes retro at 4 Virgo, goes direct on the 28th at 21 Leo.
Okay, but it's
The
going to
sh-
be, at like whatever. It's going to be squaring Uranus, and the sun's it's going to be conjunct the sun. I mean, that's going to be
Mm,
out of all of this, and it looks very daunting. It's the Sun Mercury conjunction squaring Uranus that's going to be the biggest thing in this whole chart, without a doubt. I mean,
mm,
and then everything else is going to meet challenge. You're going to have to meet challenges off of that. But if you, with squares and stuff, because this is like the head, that's the head square is the Sun, Uranus, and then Mercury is going to be in there too. So that's sort of the head square. That's like the head square out of all these other subsequent squares. So if you could work that, and if you can make good use of that, that means you're good at approaching challenges and you're good at working through challenges. So when you work through one challenge, it gives you the framework to work through other challenges in your chart. But that's going to be the challenge that drives all the other challenges. It's the Sun Uranus square, and with Mercury in the mix, retrograde. So yeah, it is. That is an interesting thing. It is an interesting summer for sure. So it's just being confident that you can work through things no matter what. Um,
mm.
pretty much, it's a lot. Um, but yeah, that's
Yeah, because that square of Uranus and the sun has this real erraticness, of course, to it. Then you add Mercury retrograde, and the energies can feel even more wonky. And Mercury, in its own right, is also squaring Uranus as well. But then we get that Jupiter Saturn energy with Mars in the mix, and it's like this erratic, but also this very restrictive principle, and needing to accept some hard truth if we're going to create meaningful change. But that truth might feel like it comes up out of nowhere, shocks
well,
us in some way.
I mean, the truth is becoming coming from every which place.
Yeah.
And but you're gonna have to believe that you have the heart to connect when you need to connect. Um, no matter how much stubborn resistance you face with the Uranus Sun Uranus Mercury square, you're gonna have to
Mm.
believe you have the heart to do it. Um, the only the only saving, and it's a wide aspect, but the only saving grace for this thing is the Venus Uranus trine. It is applying, and and Uranus is in Venus's sign. Um, so um, that will help mitigate the Sun Uranus square without a doubt.
Yes. Mm.
Um, so like when you see these kinds of things, everybody's going to be, I mean, feeling it. People with planets in late degrees of fixed signs are going to feel this. People with planets in the middle of uh, mutable signs, maybe not your sun, maybe just other planets in the middle mutable. So it's going to hit a lot of people with all these hard aspects. Um, so yeah, it's interesting. It's always interesting with Gemini. Um, it is, where is this coming from? You know, where is this coming from? It's the
Where's
mess.
oh, yeah, 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 I get it, and like you said, it's always interesting with Gemini, and part of that is, like, where is it coming from? But you mean ideas or changes or developments in our lives, that's what you
Yeah,
mean when you say
it's
that.
like it's coming out of, well, it's coming out of thin air. It's just like, I'm here and this is going on now, and this is going on now, and it's it'll be kind of dramatic. I mean, it's Venus will be squaring Mars. Um, you know, it's, can we handle this frenetic energy? Can we, the anxiety? But e- eventually, so that's the thing. Saturn in Pisces and it's retrograde in Pisces. Neptune uh, is the very end of Pisces retrograde. Um, and it's just going to be about accepting it eventually. And then we could look forward to, but I don't think 2024, I don't really think that's big of a deal right now, because Mercury is in Sagittarius and it's on the galactic center. I think and Mercury in Sagittarius right now, the small stuff like this, we should move far ahead to 2025, really. Don't you think so? Because who cares about all these little details, what's going on now?
Cares about a dinky little
That's,
a
yeah, I mean,
Saturn
next year,
Jupiter
we should be
square.
more forward thinking. We should be more forward thinking and optimistic when Saturn and Neptune conjunct in early Aries next, with
And we say
25.
that, okay, we say that with caution on my part, that if I speak ill of the ancient gods, they will just come and might thee, right? We're like, who cares about you, Jupiter and Saturn? Okay, fine, you're squaring, whatever. It's really about this. It's really
No,
about that.
because you're respecting the process. You're respecting the fact there's a big
Yeah,
picture. I
you're
mean,
right.
that's the whole thing with Jupiter and Saturn. There is a bigger picture, and you have to respect that there is a bigger picture. And when people, especially people with a lot of Capricorn energy, when they get frustrated and depressed in life, it's because everything is just, they're just feel like they're being buried. Um, but astrology teaches us that everything is cyclical, and that there is a bigger picture in everything if we're willing to
Mm,
work. And that's what Jupiter and Saturn is all about. It's not getting
wow.
second, not being scared. It's about saying, like, it's about having faith. Jupiter is about faith. You do the work, even if you don't see the bigger picture. You do the work, and you have faith that if you do the work and don't run away with ideas for the sake of running away with ideas, and don't end up, in a grandiose place, you do the work and have faith that everything else will take care of itself if you do the work.
That is beautifully said, actually. Yeah. And I think of a couple of phrases coming to mind. One is faith without works is dead, right? There's that very Protestant affirmation there. And
Mm.
the other is when faith is healthy, it questions itself. When faith is healthy, it wanes. And that could be a moment of questioning that is actually really healthy. Um, and it's a chance maybe for some of us to reflect on where we say our faith is one thing, but what are we actually demonstrating? What are we actually living? Are we actually just living in a cloud of grandiosity, or is it that we get a chance to really reflect on the realities and the practicalities of the situations we find ourselves in that we've created through our own actions? I think that might end up being one of the lessons of that of this coming summer.
Well, and that's why, and look, Jupiter and Taurus, you have to say it over and over and over again. That's why it's so important that we take our time and repeat our mantras to make us believe now, because our faith is going to be taken for a ride once Jupiter goes into Gemini. Our faith can, we can sort of stuck in a rut now, but at least we're stuck. At least we're not getting dizzy, because it is, if you don't find your faith now, you're going to be going on a roller coaster of faith in all kinds of different places that'll make your head spin. So it's very important to take our time now and be very thorough, for what we believe, what we want. Make some notes here. So that's, I mean, that's Jupiter and Taurus in a nutshell. It's just repeat, 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 and repeat. Don't take it for granted.
Mm. I won't ask you about my chart, but you can tell me what it means for me later because Andy really is one of the most brilliant astrologers I know. And I have met a lot of astrologers, like into the thousands I have met. And so he is very insightful. Is there anything else, Andy, you would like to
Yeah,
share
I would
about
like.
this aspect or 2020?
I
Uh,
know.
Keeping in mind, we've got about 10 minutes left of the overall superstar party before I go into the meditation. And tell me, well, do you do readings, Andy? Do you
Yeah.
do take on clients? Yeah, he does. That's great. Great
So
question, Brooke. Thank you for that.
I'm not listening to the Beatles.
Okay. Well,
There's
if you watch Andy at WiseAss Astrology on YouTube,
I
he
don't know the
always
Beatles.
ends with that Beatles energy there. And so once again, you guys, because normally we do look at charts and I like to look at your chart, I will make sure to leave a voice note or something within the event page to look at your chart and answer those. So thank you for your generosity in this moment. But
But
yes, go ahead, Andy. What were you
the
going to
other thing
say?
is that so tomorrow, but it's tomorrow, the next day with this Venus Jupiter mutual reception. That's going to be huge because we're going to have um, Venus in Sagittarius and Jupiter in Taurus in each other's signs, and
Wow.
we want to look ahead, but we can get stuck just looking ahead and stuck constantly looking ahead. We're stuck
Mm,
positive, and we're always like, all right, the big picture, the big picture. So it's important to make sure that we actually are valuing our ideas and we're not just being positive because we're bored and nothing else to do. And I do want to, so everybody who signs up, everybody that somebody can get or no, Nadiya, Shah,
I love you.
great,
Okay.
great
See,
of you.
it's very witty. I think you figured out by now that Andy is
And what is it? We have a
filled with
mug.
wit and wonder.
We have a
Yeah,
mug.
so he has.
We have a
Okay,
mug here.
this was a
Beautiful.
mug I was giving out at the Canadian Astrology
Where
Conference.
can your fans get this? Or do you have
Can,
other things that you
can
can get?
you zoom in? Can you zoom in? Or like turn it a bit so they can see? Yeah, there you go. So it says synchronicityuniversity.com, nadiyashah.com. It says the future is magical. So I gave those out to everybody who attended the Canadian Astrology Conference. Now, when I was at, this was UAC 2018, the official tote bag, I was able to get my messaging on the official tote bag, which was very exciting. If I had to do it again or next time I get the opportunity, I'm going to change it up in some way. And there's the pendant, the universe is wise and loving pendant.
And there's because I know you're a big Maple Leafs
Okay,
fan,
you
and there's
were
some hockey
talking about
cards.
there's hockey cards. There you go. He knows me so well as a
You're a big
Canadian.
Toronto fan? You're a big Toronto Maple Leafs fan? Or, no?
As well as you know me, what do you think?
Well, I always text you because you ask me astrology questions, and I
He
just
really
text you.
does.
I
He
just
will
text you
text me
hockey
updates.
popcorn about hockey and baseball. And the Blue Jays, they didn't get the guy. He got $700 million.
I think so. Yes, there's a
So, well,
wonderful athlete.
his Venus is in my his Venus is in late Leo. That guy, and in my transiting my eighth house, it's overlays my eighth house. So I think, now he's in LA. So I think I should befriend the guy, and maybe he'll promote my channel or something like that. Maybe
Yeah, I mean, a retweet
money
from
from him.
him can
Yeah.
change a life. Yeah.
Shohei Ohtani. So anybody who has their eighth house in Leo, go to LA and try to fix yourself up a date with Shohei Ohtani. Maybe he'll spend some money on you because that's what
He
transits.
has it to spend.
That's what people with Venus in your eighth house mean. You'll get things for free from people if they're real charmers. So
Yeah.
Venus overlaying that person's eighth house. Yeah.
So, yes, go ahead, my dear.
I'm supposed to do something for you. What am I supposed to do? Like a relationship? I'm supposed to do a webinar.
Yes, exactly. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to do the intro, and I know I'll stay later for people here, but we'll quickly just record the intro, record the outro. But yes, let's talk about that because you do have a relationship class coming up at Synchronicity University. And for all of you out there, you've got just a couple days left, if not a day or two left to choose your tuition rate. as low as just $5 a class to hear Andy as part of the January
I
2024
need some.
speaker
Yeah, I don't.
series.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna have to
I'm,
get
a,
it
I'm,
together.
yeah, I'm
I'm
a
gonna have
little
to
bit
get it
too
together.
relaxed here because this is how I talk to Andy normally, right? I'm wearing my yoga pants. I'm like folded
You're wearing,
knees and stuff like
are
that. I'm
these
not sitting very
Lululemon?
professionally. What?
It's like, you have Lululemon yoga pants or no?
They are not Lululemon,
Because
actually. No.
Lululemon don't let you choose the price you want to pay for when you buy their yoga stuff.
I know, right?
It's a
Don't
very
they know
fixed
the
rate.
Aquarian age? The
It's a very
Aquarian
fixed rate.
age is upon us already.
Yeah, it's about the collective. It's about hand-me-down yoga pants. That's what the Aquarian Age is about. It's
Oh,
about.
everybody wants that. Everybody wants a hand-me-down yoga pants. Wouldn't that just thrill to
So,
no end?
but here's if you're Aquarius is always the calves, right? So Aquarius energies, it's always the calves. So if you're sitting in that yoga pose, you want to make sure you have your calves and your ankles are in a good spot and have pants that sort of do good stuff with that. Um, Now, yeah, so I got to get this class together. One of the things I was thinking about is because everybody does these charts of celebrities that didn't have their asked to have their charts done, which is not very nice.
You don't
Uh,
think that's very nice?
well, no, nobody asked. The celebrities didn't ask to have like their like if they were good astrologers analyzing their charts, then it's fine. But nobody asked to have their like charts read by a two-bit astrologer who doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. So
Okay.
I mean, I would be annoyed. Like, I wouldn't mind having my relationship chart analyzed by an astrologer if I was a public figure, but to have it analyzed by an astrologer that's just um, grandstanding, and that would bother me. As long as the astrology was good. So what I figured was because all these people like who cares about these celebrities' charts? People want to know like how they would get along with a certain celebrity. So I was wondering if people could send their chart in and what celebrity they want to have that has an accurate birth time that they're interested in, and I could talk about what their potential relationship would be like um, with a certain celebrity. I'm just want to for disclaimer though, it's not okay to stalk this person. If I say the relationship with the celebrity would go X, Y, or Z, and you would have fun going to the movies and walking in the park and making spitballs at Starbucks or something like that, or buying expensive yoga pants. Don't take that as a
Getting Daddy Yankee merch. Look at my Daddy Yankee merch.
Ramon.
Now, this is from Mexico City from last year, which is
Yes,
why
we
it's
could talk. Do
starting
you
to.
want me to do the chart of you and Daddy Yankee for the class?
Oh my God. Do you know I have done that chart? I mean, come
Yeah.
on.
He'll
Of
do the
course, I have
composite.
done that
But he
chart.
doesn't have. He doesn't have an accurate birth time, does he? He doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
Well, what's the
No, he
point of
doesn't.
asking me? You can't.
I know. But at least you get the major planets and aspects and you get to
Yeah,
look at it.
but for composite charts, you need accurate birth times.
Andy, before you go, would you like to tell us about your upcoming class at Synchronicity University as part of the January 2024 speaker series? And you've got just a day or two left to choose your tuition rate. But yeah, it is Andy who's part of the January 2024 speaker series teaching about relationships. What do you have to say about relationships, Andy?
Do I have to? Oh, relationships. Oh yeah.
Because that's what you're teaching on. Yeah.
Has anybody here ever been in a relationship? Show of hands. Yeah, no, nobody's here been in a relationship. All right. Just you. Um, well, no relationships. You could have relationships with anybody in life, and it doesn't have to be, a significant other. It could be your parent. It could be your
Your
sibling.
friend,
And,
your dear friend, like you and I. Yeah.
um, and everybody is going to connect somewhere. Which I was saying before, everyone's going to connect somewhere in life. But with synastry, you know where you connect with the other person. That is evident right away. With composite charts, it's a theme. Every relationship has a theme, and it's more about understanding relationships than understanding astrology. You have to
Mm.
understand relationships are a single entity and they have a life of its own. And your relationship is a purpose. Uh, Two people come together for a purpose. And you could see that in the composite chart. And it's about making the best of that relationship while you're together to begin with. Now, because composite relationship charts are midpoint charts, you do have to own your own individual planet, like your own individual. If your own individual Venus is not working well, then it's not going to work well in the composite chart. If someone else's own individual Venus is not working well, and so it's not going to work well in the composite chart. It means two people with underdeveloped Venuses are come together for superficial reasons, and the relationship will have superficial love. So that's why you have to understand the synastry first. Well, you have to understand your natal chart first, how you're working through your own life, and then understand the types of connections you're having with other people. Are you looking for a real connection with someone, or are you connecting with people on a superficial level? And if you can, if you go through those progressions, then eventually, okay, then it does become about the relationship. And relationships, you have to work through relationships, because you already know where you mesh with the other person and where there's some friction, that you have to work through. But the relationship has a purpose, and if you believe in the relationship and you can see what the purpose of the relationship is, then you understand how to move the relationship forward, as a single entity. And that's just understanding relationships, that relationships have a life of their own. People are together for different reasons. Relationships have different purposes. Um, so, but
It'll be
I, but
exciting.
I, yeah, but if people want to send in their charts, and charts of maybe a celebrity that they quite fancy. Um,
And we can see what kind of astro connections
they
are
don't have
going
to be
on
living
there.
celebrities. They could be celebrities, maybe celebrities that aren't living anymore, but it's better so they won't stalk somebody. That's good, So if you want to know how to
Yeah, nobody wants to
you
do
you
that.
and right, if you want to know
No.
how you would no, seriously, if people want to know what their relationship would be like for the artist formerly known as Prince, if they were in a relationship, what they would have done, how they would have hung out in the 80s, and the 90s. So you know, they could have been the next Carmen Electra or something like that. Or if
Did
anybody
Prince make Carmen Electra?
wasn't she like a backup singer and dancer for
I
Prince?
have no idea. But
Yeah.
yeah, you can find out at Andy's class. And yes,
Talk
he's going
about
to be accepting charts and things
hypothetical
like that.
relationships and stuff like that. Whatever.
Oh, yeah. Hypothetical relationships too. Andy, I adore you. You are one of my very, very dear friends. And yes, everybody, join us for the January 2023, 2024. We are entering 2024,
Keanu Reeves.
the January
Somebody
2024
likes
speaker
Keanu Reeves.
series.
Keanu Reeves has no planets in fire, and he has no planets in air, and it is very, very distinct. When you're lacking,
Yeah.
that's why he's always like this when he's talking, because he's trying to compensate because he has no fire, and he's like good, and he has no air either. It's like, oh my god, I can't. And it's always that watery, earthy thing, and it's just trying to compensate. It's funny.
Oh my goodness, you can see it. You can feel it. Yeah.
When
He's
people
got the woody,
that's
earthy
why he's way
water.
back, and people are like, he's so weird when asked because he's trying to get in touch with the fire, and he's trying to communicate. It's like, oh my gosh, well, get in touch with all that air. It's a weird thing that he doesn't have. So he's very, very conscious of that. Um, and he was a good hockey player growing up, from my understanding. So he was from the
Oh,
Toronto.
well, he did spend part of his childhood here in Toronto. It's
So we
true.
could do your composite, because I know you're a Keanu Reeves fan, so we could do the hypothetical chart of you and Keanu Reeves, and we could talk about, how you guys would play hockey together on dates and things like that, maybe.
No, you should. Monica's the one who asked the question, so Monica should be the one that you do the composite with for Keanu Reeves.
She
That's what I
sends in
think
a
during
chart.
your class, anyway.
I don't know if
But
he's a
other
bird.
people will send in charts too, and we'll see how that comes together.
But if you send in a chart, find a celebrity that actually has. So go to. So here's the important thing. Go to astro.com. See if the celebrity has their site has their chart on astro.com and has an A or AA rated birth time. Because if it's not an A or A rate, the birth time's off, then it's like, all right. So the chart will have a rate. The chart will have a rating A or AA, and it will talk about how if it's A or AA, especially, it just the source of the time and the birth information is really good. So that's what you have to look for.
I am going to get back to our superstar party. I love you very much, Andy. I'm so glad you joined me
You're
and
keeping that.
us.
What goes on at the
And
superstar
and
party?
and there are going to be clips of what are there? They're going to be clips from this superstar party that are in the final edit. I don't know if I'm going to have time to edit this in time, but don't worry, I'll make sure that people get to see all the amazing things about you as demonstrated in this event.
But seriously, make sure you keep it apart as much as you can with the Venus Jupiter mutual reception in Taurus, and that's like the most important thing for the next month. That's huge. There's Venus Taurus, Venus in Taurus, Venus in Sagittarius. Excuse me, Venus in
Venus and
Sagittarius, Jupiter
Sag.
and Taurus mutual reception.
Yeah, yeah. I think
That's that's like that's and the thing going on on New Year's with with the one after the other. You don't want to say where Jupiter, where with what goes direct first, Jupiter or Mercury?
Jupiter.
Jupiter goes direct, and then Mercury, which is in Jupiter's sign, Sagittarius, goes direct right afterwards. That's going to
Mm,
be like the information is just going to rush forward, like boom, one and then the other. You know,
yeah. And so you'll send your info when Andy's week comes up for his class.
well, you can
You will
send it
send
in,
out a notice.
but you can
Or do
send
you
it
want,
in advance. Well, just you can just send it to not send it to you, and you can send right. Can you just
well,
you'll be forwarded?
actually, what's going to happen is an email is going to go out and then people will respond to that and then we will forward that to you.
All right, and
Unless you
that's
want them to email you directly, we can just put that in the notification for the people who
no,
sign
that's
up.
fine. I mean, I want to be able to look at it in advance for the thing. So as soon as you can send me charts, the better. I mean, AA time is much better, but sometimes we don't have we're not afforded with accurate birth time, so we got to make the best we can. But yeah, if someone's a lot of planets in Cancer and I don't know what sign their moon is in, then that's an issue. I mean, sometimes I could look at a chart if I don't know what sign the moon is in, but if you have a ton of planets in Cancer, I don't know what sign your moon is in. Yeah, then that's a problem. So
It's a problem. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Until we connect again, take care. Bye.